Euromaxx highlights. In today's show, In the Dark, reporter Matthias Stamm discovers an interesting way to play mini-golf. In the Spotlight, German chef Sebastian Zier has been crowned Newcomer of the Year. In the Know, we find out how to create imitation marble. Euromaxx highlights. And here's your host, Robin Merrill.
Hello, those stories coming up in the next half hour, but we begin with the 100th anniversary of the Italian fashion house Trussardi. Based in Milan, Trussardi is particularly well known for its luxury leather goods and accessories. But in the late 1970s, under the late Nicola Trussardi, they began to branch out into all sorts of things, including art, haute cuisine and even designing bicycles. Anyway, the celebrations marking 100 years of Trussardi have begun.
Men's fashion all in leather. Provocative works of art. And Italian star cuisine, all in honor of Trussardi's 100th anniversary. All the designs for the next autumn-winter collection are made of leather. For the past 3 years, the main Trussardi 1911 collection has been designed by Milan Vukmirovic. The French designer works closely together with company boss Beatrice Trussardi.
It was 36 looks, only with skin and leather. There was not one piece of fabric in that show. And I really worked out all this collection to show how leather can be treated almost as fabric with a lot of special treatment. So it was important for me to show the savoir-faire of the company.
We create lifestyle fashion for customers who want something new and appreciate the quality we offer.
The city of Florence allowed the company to take over a former train station for its anniversary celebrations. The company is now led by Beatrice, Tommaso, and Gaia Trussardi. They are the 4th generation of the family to head the company. British fashion journalist Susie Menkes is impressed by the men's leather collection.
It was clever to do a whole show in leather because, after all, that's where they started. And the idea that from a pair of gloves you get this huge company is pretty extraordinary.
It began in 1911 in the town of Bergamo near Milan, with leather gloves designed by Dante Trussardi. Leather goods have remained the company's signature product. The company's Greyhound logo was designed by Dante Trussardi's grandson Nicola. He expanded the company significantly, and by the late 1980s, Trussardi had become Milan's first major luxury fashion label. Top models like Naomi Campbell add a touch of glamour to the traditional fashion house. In 1999, Nicola Trussardi died in a car accident. 3 years later, his son Francesco was also killed in a car crash. His sister Beatrice took over the firm.
It's a challenge and a delight, as this company was created by my family. It's in my DNA. It's part of my childhood. As a little girl, I'd already absorbed this feeling for handmade products and extraordinary quality. So it was only natural for me to continue running the business.
Beatrice Trussardi has turned the firm's headquarters, Trussardi alla Scala, into a place which celebrates luxury and culture, with art exhibitions and a design cafe. To celebrate Trussardi's 100th anniversary, the Trussardi Art Foundation is showing the works of contemporary artists in Florence. The exhibition's title, 8½, is a reference to Federico Fellini's famous film of that name. The theme of the show is Artist's Dreams. Artistic director Massimiliano Gioni gives Florence's mayor a tour through the exhibition.
Beatrice Trussardi and the whole Trussardi group is very smart. It's not just interested in promoting fashion. They're more interested in reaching level of perfections in many fields, in the field of fashion, in the field of art.
There's Polish artist Paweł Altama with his floating giants. Italian artist Maurizio Cattelan's double self-portrait. And cars by Danish artists Michel Emmerlen and Inga Dragset rise out of the cement floor. The chef of the Ristorante Trussardi is serving up typical Italian dishes for the spectacle.
Aubergine bake, cannoli with creamed broccoli and anchovies.
For Beatrice Trussardi, that's all part of the concept.
We specialize in the things that are quintessentially Italian: fashion, design, food, and art.
Head designer Milan Vukmirovic has been rejuvenating the Trussardi look since 2008. Journalists from all over the world came to Florence to see the anniversary show.
It's contemporary luxury. It's not stuck in a rut. It's very dynamic. I liked it a lot. It's very street, very now and down to earth, but in a good way.
The appearance of a greyhound marked the show's finale. The company logo come to life.
We are looking to the future, and that's why the dog is running in the anniversary logo.
The event in Florence is just the start of the 100th anniversary celebrations. The next fashion show is scheduled next week in Milan, where the traditional label has its headquarters.
With German golfer Martin Keimer winning the PGA Championship in 2010, the sport is set for a boom here once again. There are hundreds of full-size golf courses at the moment in Germany, but there are thousands more when it comes to a smaller form of the game, mini golf. And there are weird and wonderful variations of this fun sport springing up all the time. Our intrepid reporter Matthias Stamm has been to a rather special mini golf course in Hamburg.
Teeing off under ultraviolet light, or as they prefer to call it here, black light. The fluorescent ball glows in the dark. This is mini golf with a difference.
In the last 100 years, one sport has acquired mass appeal, but is still seen as being old-fashioned: miniature golf. In Germany, there are 4,000 miniature golf courses, and they are visited by millions of players every year. Nowadays, there are some strange variations to the game. Blacklight mini golf, for example. I'm here in front of Germany's biggest blacklight mini golf course, and today I want to find out why more and more people want to play mini golf in the dark.
At the entrance, a submarine waits to take our reporter to the miniature golf course. But the dive is only simulated. The ship is a turntable. After a 6-minute descent, the sub docks at the miniature golf course. It consists of 3 fantasy worlds: a coral reef, a jungle, and an old factory. The whole facility covers more than 1,000 square meters. Manager Tanya Merka is joining Matthias for his first ever game of black light miniature golf.
The sports facilities we're familiar with outside are all the same, equally long, equally wide. And these here are fantasy worlds. Of course, parts of the course are based on the ones outside, but others are completely original.
Time to tee off. First, you put on a pair of white gloves. White reflects the ultraviolet light very well, as do the course's garish colors. The rules are identical to those of normal miniature golf. There are 18 holes, and players try to get the ball into the holes with as few strokes as possible. Each player can take a maximum of 6 strokes per hole. Despite the darkness, it's not difficult to hit the ball because it glows in the dark. But Matthias is not an experienced player, and he has trouble judging how much power to give each stroke. So holes like this one are a welcome change of pace. Here, the mini golfer turns into a billiard player. Our reporter's favorite hole is this launching pad that takes the ball through a labyrinth of pipes and metal rails to the putting green, like a huge pinball machine. It's not the only original idea the operators had.
In the future, we'll be working with 3D effects. 3D goggles will make it hard because the ball will seem to float, and so it's pretty hard to hit.
At €8 for adults, the black-light miniature golf course is about twice as expensive as a game on an ordinary course. But it still attracts up to several hundred enthusiasts per day.
It's great fun to play blacklight mini golf.
There's so much to look at. That makes it totally fascinating.
It's fun and different.
It's great.
Blacklight mini golf is a fun thing to do. And it's not so dark in here that you can't see anything. It's more like a sea of colors in a kind of twilight world. Of course, even that version of mini golf is not as exciting as a roller coaster ride, but blacklight mini golf is an innovative idea. And I predict that it will help mini golf as a sport to shake off his old-fashioned image.
Matthias tries to finish off with a hole-in-one. But in fact, it turns out to be a hole-in-16.
Helped along there, I think. Looks like he had a lot of fun, though. Next up, a man who's really creating a stir in the culinary world at the moment, Sebastian Zier. In just the last 6 months, he's been showered with awards, including his first Michelin star. And all this at the relatively young age of 33. So we spent a day with him at his restaurant on the German island of Sylt.
The North Sea island of Sylt is home to many upmarket hotels, including the Grand Spa Resort Arosa. La Mer is one of the hotel's 3 restaurants. It seats 20 guests. And this is the man in charge of the kitchen, Sebastian Zier. He's preparing a king crab canapé with ice cream and a lime wafer. It's an amuse-gueule, a bite-sized appetizer.
The basis is classic French, but we've added a modern touch. Plus, there's the influence of southern Germany, where I'm from. The result is a creative style with French roots.
Dishes like this variation on veal with mashed truffles are extremely popular. The 33-year-old chef developed his passion for innovative cooking while working with star chef Harald Wohlfahrt. Zier spent 3 years under his wing at his Schwarzwaldstube restaurant. Red barbel with calamari rings, violet petals, and black garlic. Exclusive ingredients are an integral part of Sebastian Zier's philosophy. That seems to have impressed the restaurant critics. He's gotten a Michelin star.
We never imagined getting so many awards. So, of course, the entire team was delighted. Now, keep up the pressure for the coming year so that we can keep developing and improve.
Zier collects oysters once a week in person from a local supplier. Germany's only oyster farm. And the name of the type of oysters they farm here is very promising. They're called Sylter Royal, or Sylt Royals.
They catch them in the morning and I serve them at lunchtime. Perfect. I really like using Sylter Royals. They have their own distinctive taste and are easily recognizable. I enjoy using local products.
The oysters are turned into what's called a velouté, a soup thickened with flour. It's served with beetroot patties, Sylt seaweed, and baked oyster meat. The chef incorporates a wealth of details that many guests will barely notice. But Zier says the most important thing about food is the taste.
There's always something new. We're getting more guests and more requests. So it's never boring, which is what makes cooking enjoyable. It's work that I like doing.
And it's a profession that's also time-consuming. Zier works up to 16 hours a day. In the summer, he mans the kitchen 6 days a week, so he really values his peaceful strolls down the beach.
Having a half-hour walk with nobody around is beautiful. You can focus on yourself and your life and clear your mind.
And also think up new culinary creations. Now the 2010 Newcomer of the Year has to prove that he's here to stay.
Off to Britain now to meet a master of fake marble making. Perhaps I'm doing Michael Kumbusis an injustice by saying fake here, because what he does requires a lot of craftsmanship and really is an art in itself. It's called Scagliola and can be found in many of the great castles and noble houses of Europe. For instance, Buckingham Palace in London, and I guess if it's good enough for the British royals, it's posh enough for anyone.
Scagliola looks just like the real thing. This faux marble can be found in many stately homes across Europe, like here in Yorkshire, at the residence of Lord Harewood, a cousin of Queen Elizabeth II. Here, valuable pieces of furniture made from natural marble stand alongside Scagliola tables from the 18th century. Michael Kumbusis has just restored them.
What is real and what is not real. For example, this beautiful top, which is in the real very antique marble, has been constructed in a number of smaller pieces. And so there's always, if you like, trickery that plays in one's eye. Scagliola is not a fake, to my mind, is the real thing. It has become such an artistic sort of endeavor that these days people do prefer Scagliola to the original thing.
Michael Kumbusis was born in Greece. He moved to the northern English city of Leeds more than 30 years ago to study art. That's where he discovered Scagliola. He was fascinated by the variety of colours and patterns that can be created using the technique. Today, he's one of Britain's leading Scagliola experts.
It's basically a technique whereby, although it was invented in the early 17th century, you can still these days replicate the more modern marbles as well as the antique marbles that exist out there. So basically it's a I wouldn't like to call it an imitation marble technique, but as opposed to the layperson, it sounds as if it is.
The basis for Scagliola is a mixture of plaster and colour pigments, which can be moulded into any desired shape. It's then sanded and polished several times. This Scagliola column is destined for a manor house in Yorkshire. The heir of an old established family is having his home restored. He wants Scagliola columns to match the sienna marble of the fireplace.
If you're not a connoisseur of the two materials, you won't be able to tell the difference between a Scagliola and a marble. There isn't a hell of a lot of difference, at least visually. Having said that, there's a small difference when it comes to the touch, because marble feels and is a little bit colder to the touch, while Scagliola, for example, is slightly warmer.
Producing the new columns is laborious and will cost the homeowner, Robert Staveley, around €30,000. But authentic sienna marble like that used in the fireplace can no longer be found.
The net result is just what I wanted, and I'm absolutely thrilled to bits with it.
Michael Kumbusis restores and builds Scagliola elements around the world. The faux marble was especially popular in the Baroque period. To this day, Scagliola is often used to conceal less attractive structures.
Another advantage, again, of Scagliola over marble would be the fact that it's a lot lighter than marble, and therefore, at least in the past, it was used extensively on liners.
Michael Kumbusis isn't bothered when people mistake his Scagliola work on luxury yachts or in manor houses for authentic marble. He knows they will find pleasure in the colours and designs.
Another type of art, street art, which is exactly what it says, art created on the street. It's associated with illegal graffiti, which has given it something of a bad name, but it can also be quite sophisticated. And the top name on the street art scene is one of the world's most famous contemporary artists, the elusive Banksy. His works command top prices, but less well-known street artists would also like to earn a living. So they're mostly very happy about a concept that allows their art to live a little longer.
Street art is no stranger to Berlin and is a ubiquitous sight in certain areas. Fatih Alasalvaroglu is often out and about on the city streets to find inspiration. He founded the Ur-Berlin label, which prints urban art on T-shirts.
Street art is temporary in nature, which is what makes it great on T-shirts. You can't preserve it because it gets covered with posters and it's illegal. I wanted to create a way of preserving this art on T-shirts. It's nice being able to wear art and the city on your skin.
Which is the company's slogan. The designs for these T-shirts are not taken from facades. They're created here in this Berlin studio. Fatih Alasalvaroglu has recruited 4 artists who used to be active in the graffiti scene. Today, their works are displayed on canvases, gallery walls, and indeed, T-shirts. Stowhead is the street moniker of Christoph Hessler. His work for the Ur-Berlin label incorporates all the classic techniques of street art: spontaneous sketches, splashes of paint, and slogans. He later assembles the individual elements on the computer.
I like using Indian ink. It's a very thin liquid, so it's a whole different challenge. It drips and splashes and runs, and over the years it's become one of my stylistic trademarks.
Roland Brückner is an expert on street art. 7 years ago, he plastered his fictitious figure Linda's X across Berlin buildings. Today, he's a professional illustrator and graphic designer. He says what was once an underground phenomenon has become completely respectable, even mainstream.
A lot of work was done on the street between 2003 and 2005. After 2 years, the first books and TV reports started coming out. It became really well known. Then it took time for it to be adopted in commercial art, in the worlds of fashion, marketing, and advertising.
Wearing street art literally on your sleeve, a growing trend in Europe and the USA. Most of the T-shirts are sold online and range in price from 10 to 50 euros. A crucial source of inspiration for the T-shirts is Britain's Banksy, who, despite being the world's most famous street artist, has managed to hide his true identity. Berlin is also home to eco-fashion label 500 Gods. All of its T-shirts are designed by artists who still paint and post on the street and printed in very limited editions of no more than 500. The advantage, says the management, is that the T-shirts are also a legal means of promotion.
Our T-shirts support street artists by providing them with extra income. Normally, they have to spend money on spray cans and are at times breaking the law. We give them a perfectly legal surface to work on and the opportunity to make money with their art.
Back at Ur-Berlin, Nima 1, whose real name is Markus Reichling, is working on a new motif with a classic street technique. He makes his own stencils and then sprays paint over them to create an instantly recognizable image. This design is in the pipeline for the next collection.
It's great to see people on the street wearing my work. Walking works of art.
Graffiti artists, whose activities are for the most part illegal, say turning graffiti into fashion is a sellout. Protest culture going commercial.
I've heard that before, that we've sold out. You get that with every subculture at some point. It is normal for a subculture to get absorbed by the dominant culture. It's not that terrible.
Fatih Alasalvaroglu has plans for expansion and wants to put street art on skateboards and bags.
And that's all we've got time for on this edition. Visit our website at dw-world.de/English/Euromaxx for more about the show. Until next time, bye-bye.